Hello everyone, my name is Sasha Miles and I'm a registered dietitian. People getting a grip on osteoarthritis. We're going to talk about weight loss today in the context of osteoarthritis. Does weight have an involvement? Absolutely. Is weight loss effective for managing osteoarthritis? Absolutely. We know that we have clients that have improved endurance and improved mobility, all with minimal weight loss. For whom will weight loss work? Well, let's take the example of Julia Crawford. She's 61, she has a height of about 5'5", and she weighs approximately 180 pounds. She owns a company that specializes in making homemade quilts. Her quilts are the most popular amongst her company's customers. But because of the type of business Julia is in, she sits most of the day, and as a result has minimal exercise. For the past 3 years, Julia has had increased suffering from the osteoarthritis that she has in both of her knees. Julia took a look at the Getting a Grip on Arthritis website, www.gettingagrip.ca, and realized that she should be eating better, that she should be exercising more, and all of this might have had a good impact on her osteoarthritis. Well, Julia made a few modifications to her daily routine. She has now lost some weight, she's exercising, and her osteoarthritis is not nearly as bad as it once was. She's definitely noticed her increased endurance and mobility. So how did she do it? Well, if we were to look at the diet components of what she managed to accomplish, she made some behavior changes. She modified her eating behaviors by decreasing the calories that she was eating. She set some goals, all while maintaining a balanced diet. Her overall goal was to decrease her body weight by 5% over 2 years. This is actually quite consistent with what the research has told us was most helpful for people with osteoarthritis of the knee. How did Julia do it with respect to exercise? Well, she had a routine. 15 minutes of walking at about 50 to 75% of her heart rate reserve, followed by 2 sets, each with 12 repetitions of the following exercises. She did leg extensions, leg curls, heel raises, step-ups, and she performed each of these exercises with weights around her ankles. She took about a minute and a half between rests between sets. And lastly, she followed that up with another 15-minute walk at the same heart rate. So for how long did she do this? Well, 3 times a week she followed that 45-minute routine for about 18 months. That, in addition to her really good diet modifications that she made, she was able to have some success. What the research has told us is that diet and exercise combined together is most definitely the most effective in managing osteoarthritis of the knee. Exercise by itself is effective, but not nearly as much as it is when it's combined with nutrition, and the same is true for nutrition alone. So that being said, we've been told to follow a balanced, healthy diet while maintaining a healthy body weight. We've all heard that many times. The question then becomes, how are we going to do it? So let's get started then. How is it that we're going to be able to dive into maintaining our body weights in order to help with osteoarthritis? So, what do dietitians recommend? What am I doing in my current practice? And it is based on what the research is giving us some guidance on. The first thing is certainly to encourage a heart-healthy diet with my clients, following Canada's Food Guide to Healthy Eating, following a low-saturated fat diet, one that's high in something called omega-3 fatty acids, and a diet that's really high in fiber. So, how are we going to do it? Furthermore, Canada's Food Guide to Healthy Eating, and then we're going to talk about something called the space on your plate. Well, everybody at one point in time has probably seen that rainbow plugged onto their fridge at one point in time. The 4 food groups. We've got the grains and the starches, the fruits and the vegetables, follow closely behind with the dairy products and the protein foods. The first 2 rays of the rainbow, the grain products and the fruits and vegetables, are where the bulk of our calories are going to come from, follow closely behind with calories contributing from dairy products, and last but certainly not least, the proteins and alternatives. So when we as dietitians talk about what are healthy choices in each of those food groups, what do we mean? Well, let's go through each one of them one at a time here. Let's talk about the grain products. What do dietitians recommend to be a heart-healthy choice, one that would be helpful for those that are trying to lose weight? Well, for the grain products, the rule of thumb is always going to be whole grain products. Foods like brown bread, oatmeal-based cereals, brown rice versus white rice, for example, are all going to be excellent choices. They're high in fiber, they tend to be low in calorie and low in fat. Now, the fruits and vegetables, these are always going to be a fantastic choice. We encourage clients to have ones that are really brightly colored. Think things that are bright orange, green, yellow, and red. Sky's the limit on the variety. We encourage patients to have as many as they can possibly get in there. The one thing that we do caution clients on when they're trying to keep in mind that they're losing weight in order to manage the osteoarthritis of the knee is look at the amount of juice that one is drinking. We encourage you to keep it to half a cup a portion. Here's an example of what that would look like. It's probably much smaller than the average bottle of juice that you were to buy in a convenience store, but try to keep it to half of a cup. Okay. So, the dairy products. Whether you're choosing cow-based dairy products or non-cow-based dairy products, the rule of thumb here is that we're looking for low-fat choices. And what that means is on your food labels, you're looking for something that says less than 2% milk fat. The milk fat is going to be indicated as either an MF or a BF, butter fat or milk fat. It's right there on the label. For cheese, it becomes a little bit more difficult. Look for food products that are about 15% milk fat. Given that the standard cheddar cheese on average may have 32% milk fat, choosing something that's 15% is automatically going to be a much better choice. The meats and alternatives. Protein is important, certainly, to ensure that you're going to get ample iron, zinc, lots of other vitamins and minerals that are really important for day-to-day function. Unfortunately, this is the one food group that we can easily get extra calories from. We would really encourage all clients to make sure that for their protein foods, that you're trimming all visible fat and skin. So if this steak was going to be on your dinner plate tonight, for example, we would encourage clients to remove the visible fat around the outside of any form of meat. Or if it's chicken, for example, taking off the skin. It's an easy way to eliminate extra calories. Other lean meats like fish, poultry, and even there's lean cuts of beef and pork nowadays in your supermarket shelves. Be adventurous, give it a try. But don't forget the non-animal sources of protein products. So for example, tofu and the legume family. Items like chickpeas, kidney beans, lentils. They're a really great way to get a lot of fiber, some protein, lots of really good energy. So be adventurous and give them a try. So if we turn back to the actual picture of Canada's Food Guide, back to that rainbow, it's quite easy to see the 4 food groups. But when we flip to the dark side, as I call it, meaning the other side that often isn't ever shown on people's refrigerators, this is where there tends to be a bit of confusion for those that are trying to eat healthy, trying to understand what it is that they need on a daily basis. So that being said, the first thing we need to know about Canada's Food Guide is that it's been designed for people as young as 5 all the way up to 95, which is why for each of the 4 food groups you're going to see a range of portions. So if we were to start with the grains and cereals, for example, 5 servings might be for somebody who's a little bit older and less active, whereas 10 to 12 servings might be for somebody that's younger and quite active. For the average adult, I'd say on average, probably 6 servings a day at a minimum would be appropriate. So what does that mean according to Canada's Food Guide? Well, on the backside of Canada's Food Guide to Healthy Eating, they've separated 1 serving versus 2 servings. 1 serving might be something as simple as 1 piece of bread. For hot cereal, you're looking at about 3/4 of a cup. For cold cereal, we encourage patients to read the side panel of all of your cereal labels. One of the first lines that you'll see is 30 grams is the equivalent of a cup of amount. What we mean by that is cereal, because it has varying weights, it might be 3/4 of a cup is equal to 30 grams. For another, it might be 1/4. Have a look at this so you can plan your breakfast meals appropriately. For 2 servings, as indicated by Canada's Food Guide, it may be something as simple as a bun. 2 halves, 2 servings. I encourage all of my clients to be very cautious when they're looking at their rice and their protein portions. 1 cup of cooked rice or pasta is in fact the equivalent of 2 servings. When I show this sample of pasta to my clients, the first thing I ask them is, how many cups do you think this is? The first response I get is, maybe 1. This is in fact actually 2 cups. Therefore the equivalent of 4 servings of grain products. So keep that in mind, and remember to try to measure out rice and pasta a few times in your own kitchen to see what that volume of food looks like in your own home on your own plates. It'll help with overall portion control. The fruits and vegetables. We've made reference to this already in that you really can't go wrong with choosing these guys. Canada's Food Guide suggests 5 to 10 servings per day. At a minimum, we'd like to see 2 to 3 of those servings being fruit, and then fill up the rest on vegetables. We've talked already about that half-cup portion size for your fruit and vegetable juices. 1 cup of salad is the equivalent of 1 cup. Half of a cup of fruits or vegetables that happen to be canned, frozen, or fresh is also 1 serving. The milk and dairy products, Canada's Food Guide has suggested 2 to 4 servings per day, when in fact we'd actually suggest that people aim more towards the 4 servings per day. What is the equivalent of 1 serving? Well, that would be an 8-ounce glass of milk, or 250 milliliters, 1.5 ounces of cheese, which would be about 1.5 of these cubes, or 3/4 of a cup of yogurt. That would all be 1 serving of dairy products. And last but certainly not least, the protein products, or the meats and alternatives. 1 serving, you've got a bit of a variety here depending on the type of protein that you're selecting. 1 egg is going to be the equivalent of about 1 ounce. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter is going to be 1 serving. Half of a cup to about a cup of the legumes, so for example, chickpeas, lentils, that would also be the equivalent of about 1 serving. 2 to 3 servings, as per Canada's Food Guide, is about the equivalent of about 6 ounces of protein foods per day. Okay, so now that we've seen what Canada's Food Guide has suggested for daily servings, the question then becomes, well, I need something a little bit more practical when I'm at home, when I'm trying to cook. I need a more hands-on approach. So let's dive in here. Your carbohydrate portions. This is where your hands become your most favorite friend when it comes to finding your portions on your plate. For carbohydrates, we would suggest take 2 fists. That's how much your servings should be at any one meal. Again, making sure that you're choosing whole grain food products. For your vegetables, open hands. Fill up both of your hands to make sure that you're getting the equivalent of your appropriate servings of vegetables. Again, making sure that they're bright in color. Make sure you get all those vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that we know are so good. Fruit servings, you're looking for something about the size of your fist. If you were to compare an apple to the size of my fist, that's about 1 serving. It's an easy reference point. When it comes to protein foods, we want people to think the palm of your hand and the width of your pinky finger is going to be the equivalent of about 3 ounces. That was what we would deem to be an appropriate portion size of protein foods. If we were to compare this chicken breast, it fits in the palm of my hand. It's just about the thickness of my pinky finger, give or take, so it's a good choice. Added fats tend to be an area that clients tend to struggle with because there's lots of hidden calories in there that we often forget about in preparation of our meals. Keep in mind the tip of your thumb, from the knuckle to the end of your thumb, is a serving for an added fat. What we mean by that is salad dressings, margarines, cream cheese, butter, oil, etc. Make sure that you're monitoring those portions because those calories very quickly add up. So now that we've had the hands-on approach, how are we all going to put that together to form a meal at the end of the day? Well, this is where the diagram space on your plate comes into play. We want people to envision their dinner plate before they're making their meals. Divide it up into quadrants. The bottom half of your plate, full of vegetables. Your choice, they're essentially free foods. They're high in fiber, they're low in calories, and they're virtually low in fat. Make sure you enjoy those. 1/4 of your plate is going to be filled with your protein portion, of course a lean meat with removed of all visible fat and skin, and then the other 1/4 of your plate is going to be those carbohydrate portions. A dinner plate might look something like this. Half of the plate covered in vegetables, 1/4 being the starch, and the other 1/4 being your protein foods. All right, so fiber. This is a word that we often hear lots about on a daily basis. Why is this such a good food, and why do we need lots of it? Well, what we do know is that fiber helps people feel full longer. Keep in mind when you're grocery shopping that you're looking for labels that say high source of fiber or very high source of fiber. By choosing grain products that are labeled this, you've made a really good choice in helping you feel full longer to help you succeed in your goals for weight loss. What about fat? That tends to be the other really popular buzzword that we hear quite a bit about in trying to lose weight. Remember, first of all, the portion sizes. Keep in mind the portion of your thumb. Low fat, when it says low fat on a label, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's okay to have double portions. Keep that in mind. For those consumers, when you're out grocery shopping, how do you know what labels you can trust? Well, those that say low in fat, low in saturated fat, and 0 trans fats, those are labels that are dictated quite closely by Health Canada, and as a result, they're something that you can trust when you're grocery shopping. So that being said, what about when you're in the grocery store? What are some helpful hints to get you through that grocery trip to make sure you're making the best possible choices? Well, one of the first things you need to do is shop with a list. And the easiest way to develop that list is to think about the groceries that you're going to require to make a week's worth of meals. Sounds like a lot of work, but it does pay off in the end, because when you get to the grocery store, you know exactly what you need. Allow yourself sufficient amounts of time to stroll up and down the aisles, read the labels that you need to read so that you can make sure that you've made the best possible choice. And last but certainly not least when grocery shopping, please make sure you're not going hungry when you go grocery shopping. The reason why people tend to buy impulse items and they tend to over-purchase items that they don't need. Have a snack if you're going there before you go home to cook dinner. Perfect segue as we head into food preparation here. One of the most popular questions I get asked on a regular basis is, what are heart-healthy ways of cooking? What's the easiest way to make sure that I'm cooking in a safe manner that will help me as I'm trying to lose weight? Well, I encourage people to remember the 5 B's: baking, broiling, braising, barbecuing, and boiling. So for example, baking French fries as opposed to frying French fries. Grilling your fish or broiling your fish is always going to be a better option than trying to fry it. Keep in mind those when you're preparing dinner the next time. One of the biggest concerns that clients have when they're trying to lose weight is, how do I eat out in a restaurant? It often becomes a moment of fear when people walk in because they're afraid they're not going to be able to stick to their goals that they've developed for themselves. One of the first things I really encourage people to do is to remember that you are a consumer. You need to feel empowered to not be afraid to ask questions, request substitutions, and make sure that you enjoy your meal with the foods that you really love. So as a result, read your menu really carefully. Are there any hidden calories? So how is your food prepared? Is there a side dish that's fried versus something that's baked? Is there cream sauces or cheese sauces that can be substituted? Remember the 5 B's when you're looking at their food preparation method. It will give you some guidance in selecting an appropriate food choice for you. And don't hesitate to ask for substitutions. It's very common in restaurants now to see side salads, side servings of soup in place of, say, French fries. Ask for condiments, sauces, and any kinds of added fat can very easily be placed on the side of a plate. Don't be afraid to ask for that as well. And remember, of course, to monitor your liquid calories. We've talked a little bit about juice already, but alcoholic beverages and non-diet sodas can also add up very quickly in the calorie department, so please be careful. Drink alcohol in moderation and choose diet beverages if possible. And last but certainly not least, one of the easiest ways to manage portion control is to share your food. If you're dining out with loved ones, with family, with friends, share your food. It's an easy way to cut back on the portion that you're having, all while enjoying a meal with great company. So let's review some helpful hints for everyday eating. Try to remember to eat every 4 to 6 hours. Clients that spend longer than 6 hours between meals tend to overeat because they're incredibly hungry. Try to have a snack in between meals if you know that you're going to go longer than 6 hours. Avoid eating meals in front of the computer and in front of the television. We often see patients forgetting about what they're eating and as a result end up overeating at a meal very inadvertently. Additionally, before you head to the kitchen for that second helping, try to remember the 20-minute rule. By waiting 20 minutes, this is the length of time that your brain takes to get the message that food's in the tummy. Wait the 20 minutes, see if you're actually still feeling hungry. You might be pleasantly surprised. Try to remember the picture of space on your plate. Remember that half of your plate should be full of brightly colored vegetables, a quarter of your plate with a dark whole grain starchy food product, and the other quarter of your plate being covered with a lean protein choice. Try also to use smaller plates. You may actually be also surprised at how much smaller your portions of food will be. And last but certainly not least, don't forget to develop small, achievable goals for yourself. By developing lofty goals, you run the risk of setting yourself up for failure. Develop small goals and don't forget to reward yourself. And be prepared to reward yourself by developing a list of non-food related goals. It might be rewarding yourself with a long-distance phone call to a friend or to a family, a walk, buying a new magazine, or a bouquet of flowers. Select something that has meaning to you so that when you've done a job well done, you know that you've got something ready and waiting for you. With those helpful hints and practical tips, we hope that you'll be doing well with your weight loss endeavors. Good luck, because we know that you can do it. We'd like to acknowledge Dr. Stephen Messier and his collaborators as they've given us authorization to develop this presentation, in addition to some practical hints that have been added in there in order to make your lifestyle modifications an easy one. And with support from the following people, organizations, this presentation couldn't have been done without their help. Thank you. This concludes our presentation for today.